Come build with me my mom's dream ranch. So picture this, I'm getting ready to stream like I always do, and I was planning on doing Lil Simsy's shell challenge. But then I get an email from my mom with this floor plan saying, hey, can you build this? And I was like, well, absolutely. So that's the plan today. It's literally this ranch my mom designed. You can see the floor plan in the top left. That's literally her drawing that she sent me. Like, she sketched this out on real notebook paper, scanned it, and then sent it to me. Adorable. So that actually changed how I went about building this. Usually when I'm doing a giant build, I'll kind of start from the outside in, because I want to make sure it has an interesting exterior. Unfortunately, the floor plan my mom sent me was just a big box, so I changed the size of some rooms, rearranged others, trying to give it a more interesting shape while still maintaining her original vision. But that's why you'll see me kind of building it up in parts. Like, I haven't even finished the shell of the house yet, and I've already put a sink in the bathroom. What am I doing? But this was just how my brain was working. She gave me a layout with labeled rooms, and so it made the most sense to me to go room by room. Because it's also really hard to tell scale from a blueprint and how it'll translate to The Sims, because it's not like a one-to-one scale or anything. So I was also placing items to make sure that they fit and they looked natural, just to really try and make it look realistic. In the kitchen, I added this giant island, and you'll see me add bar stools in a minute, because my mom has always loved to have people sitting in the kitchen with her while she cooks. In my recent mansion video, I added a formal dining room and then joked that in fancy houses, you never really use the dining room, but that's not the case for my mom. Having a dining room where the whole family can eat together has always been a big deal for her. I remember growing up, I'd always want to watch a movie with dinner or something, and she'd be like, no, it's family time during dinner time and it's at the table. Then maybe afterwards we can watch a movie. At this point you can see I've added all the rooms and now I'm just starting to mess with the shape. Like I said, I really wanted it to be more interesting than just a box, especially because the roofing just looks so much better when you have an interesting shape. That being said, the roofing was also really hard for me. I went back and forth on it for such a long time. I even cut some of it out. This is the condensed version. But in the end, I really liked it. I wasn't sure at first what color scheme I wanted to go for the outside. My first thought was kind of this moody, dark black and brown with that nice stone foundation from Seasons. But then I wanted to use this front door from Horse Ranch and it has white in all of the swatches. I especially like this yellow swatch, so I was like, how can we bring in the yellow and white tones into the rest of the build? And so I ended up making everything lighter overall, which definitely tied it together. It even matches the orangey desert tones of the landscape, so I continued with the yellow for all of the windows. I realized that the Horse Ranch windows come with individual shutters, which was so exciting for me. The other windows I would have chosen for this build are the cottage living ones that have the shutters attached to them, and it looks really cool, but there's no non-shuttered version, you don't get to pick what side the shutter goes on, and so I thought it was so neat that they gave us that versatility with the Horse Ranch pack. Unfortunately, even though Horse Ranch has great windows, it doesn't have a single tile door, so I used this white cottage living door for most of the rooms, and then used the bigger, fancier Horse Ranch doors for notable transitions, like into the game room and into the pantry. I wasn't sure how I wanted to decorate the kitchen. I really like to do a sink with upper cabinets above it that nicely frames the window, but due to the kind of odd layout I chose for the windows, the sink wasn't lining up well, and then the upper cabinets had some very distinct colors on them that just looked way too noticeable if I kept repeating it. So then I thought about using the regular upper cabinets, and then they just covered too much of the window, so that's why I didn't give any upper cabinets to the kitchen. You'll notice though that I have two ovens stacked on top of each other, and that's because it was very crucial to my mom that she got a double oven. It's in her floor plan listed as double oven. Then she sent an additional email after the first one saying, there's only a few things that I really care about in this house, and then one of those things was the double oven. So I wasn't sure how to do that in The Sims, so I just put the portable oven from Dream Home Decorator on top of the oven that goes inside a cabinet, also from Dream Home Decorator. While I've been on this whole spiel about double ovens, you may have noticed that I've gone through and done the wallpaper and the floors and even the ceilings for all the rooms. And then there's a lot of wood tones going on here too. There's wood floor, you'll see I have a wood wallpaper, there's wooden cabinets, wooden chairs, wooden dining table, and they don't actually all have the exact same swatches, and I'm not sure I would want them to anyway. It all starts to look very samey, so I spent a lot of time messing with the different swatches, trying to come up with a color palette that looked like it went together, but not too homogeneous. This area was kind of tricky because it was one of the few places in the floor plan that didn't have a label, but she also didn't put like a proper living room in the house, so I figured that could go here. I added some gorgeous furniture from the Horse Ranch pack, seated around a lovely fireplace and some lamps. I also added a chimney that really popped on the outside. Finally, in this back corner, I added a reading cross-stitch nook. My mom doesn't cross-stitch, but she does sew, and I think that's like the closest thing we have in The Sims. Up until this point, I've been using that base game subtle saucer light everywhere, because it's a good light to illuminate your workspace while you start building, but I don't like to leave it in finished builds, especially one with such a strong theme. so I went through and replaced a lot of them with this hanging chandelier from Horse Ranch. This front area was also ambiguously labeled, but I don't know what it could be other than an entryway, so that's just what I did. I added some rugs to break up the texture of the floor, and then added a piano. My mom actually came into chat later and had a lot of things to say about how I was doing her build. Number one being that they actually have a grand piano, not a stand piano like I gave them. So of course I change it later on. Right now we're working on the TV game room, which is different than the living room, because you'll notice the living room didn't have a TV. I wanted to model this after the game room in their current house, which has a pool table and a ping pong table. You'll even see me try and add the university ping pong table, but this room was just a little too small, so I added smaller games like Jenga, darts, foosball, that kind of thing. But it's the same vibes. Honestly, there aren't pool tables in The Sims anyway. This build was so massive, it actually took me 2 days to do, and around here is where the second stream started. I wanted to get my creative juices flowing, so I went for a guest bedroom. I fell in love with this sheep print bedspread and wanted to do as much sheep stuff as I could, as well as this absolutely gorgeous constellation ceiling paint from Horse Ranch. And so the theme of this room became sheeps under the night sky. You could totally go with that theme for a kid's room, but I wanted this to be a more adult guest room. But that doesn't mean it can't have whimsy. My cat just came in my office while I'm recording this voiceover, by the way, so if you hear him purring or the jingle of his collar, I apologize. He's a cat, I can't control him. I knew I wanted a sheep's rug, but I couldn't decide which one. I ended up choosing the one that's just 3 sheeps stacked on top of each other. My other options were either too bland or too colorful, but I thought this struck that nice balance of a little bit of pastel, but not too much. I started thinking about how many people I wanted to be able to sleep in this guest room, though. My mom loves hosting for the holidays, but she only asked for 2 guest rooms. If I just do 1 bed in each guest room, that's not enough for everybody she invites, so I knew this room had to have a bunk bed at least. Next, I wanted to add a desk area. My mom has a closet in her house that she uses for like daily devotionals and whatnot, and it's separate from her main office because she really wants it to be its own secluded, special space. Like, she's immune to the world when she's in there. She won't pick up her phone, my dad knows to not bother her while she's in there, so I think having a place like that in her dream ranch would still be really important to her. I wasn't satisfied with the amount of sheep clutter in this room, so I added that little sheep stool as well as the sheep rug from Horse Ranch, complete with a mirror to make sort of a dressing area. I added some wall art to finish off the guest room, including this quilt piece that I brought back from the living room. My mom loves quilting, so I used that decor piece several times throughout this build. I also added a few suitcases to imagine her family's home for the holidays, and then I looked at a couple other wallpaper swatches to see if I liked anything better, but then I just went back to the original. Finally, our first bathroom of the build. It's pretty simple, just a shower, toilet, and sink. I've really been enjoying sizing up the food mat from Cats and Dogs to use as a bath mat. It just has so many fun colors. Then I did the matching base game tile and wallpaper in there before moving on. For our second guest room, I knew I needed to amp up the amount of people this room could sleep. The other one was kind of a cutesy room with a study and maybe a place for someone to stay if they were staying long term. But this room is where they're shoving all the kids for the holidays. We can fit 6 people in this room, and my goodness, I know she would. I really loved that the light blue and yellow from the double beds had matching swatches on the bunk beds, but weren't the exact same. I love that, matching but not identical. This is the moment my mom joined the stream, so I gave her a tour of everything I had done so far, and she had opinions. First of all, I had to change the electric stoves in the kitchen to gas because she does not like electric stoves. Fortunately, she was on board with having 4 beds in 1 guest room, because we moved back to the guest rooms pretty quickly. I gave this room a dressing nook as well, and added a bunch of suitcases for everyone that'd be staying in here, as well as going through and adding better lights and decor. Next up, the second guest bathroom. I played with a couple different styles before landing on this like base game orange setup. All of the packs have gorgeous content, but I think the base game has the best sets of matching tiles. Next was the pantry. My first thought was to do a lot of nectar racks, because they came with Horse Ranch and I thought it fit the theme, but my mom doesn't really like alcohol. So instead I went with this open shelving from Jungle Adventure. I put it on the back wall for now, but later I switch what wall it's on. She also wanted stainless steel cooktops, a microwave, and a sink. I think she was envisioning this as like a second cooking area. My mom has a very big heart. Growing up, she was often helping out with like charity fundraiser dinners, and our kitchen would just be covered with trays of mac and cheese, casserole, lasagna. To this day, it impresses me how much she can cook at once, and how good it all still tastes. So I imagine the extra cooking area in this pantry would definitely get put to good use. At her recommendation, I switched the shelves to the other wall and added a broom from Laundry Day. She also wanted me to get a vacuum, and I was like, Mother, I love you, but I'm not gonna get the Bust the Dust kit. I'm sorry. She also had a lot of realism suggestions for the laundry room. Like, she kept insisting that I had some place to hang up the clothes, which, like, she's right, that's always how her laundry room was growing up, so of course she wants that. But like, I never put that in my Sims builds. The laundry room was finally to her satisfaction though, and we moved on to the main bathroom. One of the unique features of this bathroom is that the toilet is in an area all by itself, but it felt kind of cramped to put a whole door there, so instead I just added a curtain. Also, I was kidding about the laundry room being up to par. She wanted different shelves. I went in with these Dream Home Decorator shelves where you can actually hang clothes up on them, and then they have fun extra cubby holes that you can put clutter in. After a lot of reorganizing that I've cut out, we moved back to the main bathroom. I added a magazine holder for my dad because he loves to read in the bathroom, and I had a lot of fun with the clutter in this room. I think adding stuff like the toothbrushes and hairdryer just make the space feel more lived in. I added a mat in here, and then my mom mentioned that she would still have dogs in her dream ranch, so I went and added food bowls and a bed for them too. Next up were the offices. I started with my dad's and gave him this video creator station because it has multiple monitors and he's always had multiple monitors. I also gave him a cabinet to store his tea and coffee with an espresso machine on top. I don't think he actually has an espresso machine, but he always has had some sort of beverage gadget. He used to have a soda stream, now he has like a nitro coffee maker, so I don't know what gadget he'll have in the future, but I know he'll have something. I finished off this office with a blue rug and some nice sailing paintings. My chat was giving me such a hard time about the amount of rugs I put in this build. To me, it's all hardwood floors, and those are just gonna get so cold and unpleasant, so of course you're gonna want a plethora of rugs. But my chat strongly disagreed. Let me know in the comments whether or not you think I use too many rugs. This is my mom's office, by the way, and I gave her the most rustic room in the house, because this is her ranch house, and her office has to be on theme. I added some more quilt pieces in here, a nice dog calendar and some dog statues, and then plenty of room for family photographs. At this point, I'm just doing some finishing touches before I build the main bedroom. I had kind of made it a weird shape, and so it was really intimidating me. So of course I put it off even more by doing the walk-in closet first. Now I thought this was a nice big closet, and by Sim standards it is, but my mom was like, nope, it's way too small. So I made a little bump out to give her some more space without completely destroying the shape of the bedroom. Then I took those two tall wall lights from City Living and put them on either side of those wall height mirrors from Base Game to make kind of a custom mirror. Honestly, I've loved putting that combination in my builds ever since I bought City Living, and I think it still lives up. Now personally, I would have preferred nice grand curtains in the main bedroom, but my mom was insistent that we have blinds. So of course, I went with her vision. Initially I was going to include 2 dog beds because she has 2 dogs, but she reminded me that they actually just have a big dog bed that they share, so I just put 1. My biggest worry about the main bedroom was this little nook, and I finally decided that I was gonna put a vanity here. I actually think it's really cute. I like the clutter I used. Then on this other wall that doesn't really have anything, I added a cozy reading knitting nook to kind of fill out the space. Finally, I changed out some of the rugs according to my mom's preferences, finalized the decorations on the wall, and we moved on to the patio. My mom had a long list of requests for this outside area, but I was on like 8 hours of building, I was getting tired, and it wasn't that big of a space, so we ended up having to cut a lot of them out. So it's a bit smaller than her dream, but I still think we fit an impressive amount of stuff in this build. Let's finish off this build with a tour of the whole place. This took me so long, but honestly, I was in nostalgia land the entire time. On stream, I told a bunch of childhood stories. It was so much fun, and especially once my mom joined, that was such a special experience for me. There's not always overlaps between my interests and my parents' interests, so it's really cool when we get to share something like this. I love you, Mom. Thanks for sharing your blueprint with me. I hope I did it justice, and I hope this video brings you joy. And to the rest of my viewers, thanks for making it this far. It means a lot to me to share my passions with other people, so thank you for providing me with that opportunity. I hope you enjoyed this build. I make stuff like this weekly on my Twitch channel, so come say hi sometime. And as always, have a lovely day. Bye!